Howdy, I'm Rick Kreider from Texas A&M University. It's a privilege to be here, part of this Congress on sports nutrition for the AHPA. Today I've been asked to talk about how to develop university-based research relationships. I want to do so by giving you some background about the type of relationships that you could pursue to help substantiate your products and position them better in the market, as well as some examples of how we've done this over the years, in the last 30 years, with the Exercise and Sport Nutrition Lab, now at Texas A&M. And so to begin with, let's talk about the benefits. When I first started in this field, very few companies supported original research on their products. They did what we called borrowed science. They would look at the research and look at theory and then develop products based on individual nutrients and theorize that they would have some benefit. But the consumer really didn't know whether, if they took a particular supplement, would it actually work as claimed, or was it safe? And so really in the late 80s and early 1990s, there was really a push and call for more companies to start doing research. And there are a number of benefits in doing so. And this includes access to experts in the field. It doesn't matter how big your company is, you can't hire a large contingent of experts. And so access to university-based research brings you into a network of scientists that can help you develop your products and develop strong structure and function claims that can be used in marketing. It bridges brands and suppliers to academia. It adds credibility to the brand because of this relationship that can be forged, especially long-term relationships with universities that can help with product development. It's also more cost-effective. It costs millions of dollars to have facilities like you see behind me to be able to do clinical trials, and so it's much more cost-effective to be able to identify universities that can do research and support and evaluate structure and function claims and safety, then you having to hire and develop your own labs and have all the personnel necessary to do so, so it's cost effective. The other thing, it provides some research independence. It's good to do in-house studies, but there's certainly greater credibility when it's independent research done at a university-based facility, and then that research goes through peer evaluation and publication, and it provides credibility to the brand. So all this helps a company be able to substantiate their structure and function claims, so when they market their product, the consumer can feel confident that it's been studied, it's safe, and that they can reasonably expect similar results from using that particular product. So in my experience, companies who invest in R&D and develop their products and base their marketing claims on strong structure and function claims based on final product validated studies generally have greater market share and credibility because consumers can feel confident that the results will be similar to what they might expect. So how would you do this? Well, there's a number of ways that you can get involved with university-based research, and it spans from either doing individual projects through multi-year relationships with companies on a fee-for-service or a full grant type of research project. So let's explore some of those. We offer industry both grants and fee-for-service opportunities. And a fee-for-service type of study would be you come to the research group, you have an outline of a study, you sit down with the researcher and say, okay, this is what we were interested in doing, what can you do? And then they provide input about the type of things that might be measured. We collect the data, we then give the results back to you, and then you own the IP, right? So there may not necessarily be publication of the data. It's great for proof of concept type of studies, and this is often how initial studies are done. And this is similar to a contract research organization as well that Dr. Lopez will be talking about, that offer a fee for service. We have a lot of interest in doing a lot of projects like that now because a lot of times companies are just formulating ideas and developing patents, and therefore they need the data to be able to substantiate the claims in the patent, but they don't want to be published right away until the patent's actually filed and it's protected. And so there seems to be a lot of interest with this type of option. And so this is, we basically collect the data on a protocol we agree with, give you the results, and then you do with the results as you wish. Then there's the typical grant method. And this is where you contract with the university to conduct a study. You own any intellectual property that you bring to the table, but if there's something new, it's usually shared between the university and the sponsor, or the university might give a first rights of refusal to any new intellectual property that may be initiated. Then the data is published. There's no restrictions on the publications, and whether it works or doesn't work, the researchers have the rights to publish. So the big difference between grant-sponsored research and fee is the IP ownership, as well as the publication rights. And the advantage of the sponsor doing it this way is it provides more independence, because the results are published and presented and put out into the public basically without interference from the sponsor, and that adds credibility to the study, as well as for FDA and FTC compliance. Then we've developed, a number of places have done this, multi-year master agreements with different types of companies. And a lot of times you do one study, one fee-for-service project, that leads to another fee-for-service project or a grant. Same thing with grant, one study, one at a time. But when you develop a relationship with a sponsor that you know you're going to do a series of studies, you can do multi-year master agreements, where say over a 3 or 5 year period, you agree to do a certain number of studies and that are mutually agreed upon. And then as the research evolves and you get new ideas, you are then able to initiate new projects within that master agreement. And the advantage of that is that all the terms, all the IDCs, all those things are established and set. So if the IDCs go up the next year and direct costs go up the next year a percentage, you're still locked into that initial agreement. So you can save money there. It also speeds up the time for legal to be able to look at the contract, get approval through the university. And so it's a much quicker way to launch multiple projects. We've done several of these with different companies over time. And so in a period of 5 years, for example, or 8 years or 3 years, like we've done in some of these, you cannot just do 1 or 2 projects. You can use the resources and personnel to do multiple projects. And so, for example, one of our 5-year agreements, we did 17 research studies. The only way to do that is if you have the same personnel working on one project after another. As you get ideas, you get an approved IRB, and you're continually doing project after project within that time span. So it really speeds up the process of working with the university. And then finally, a lot of companies will just simply hire faculty members outside of the university as consultants to provide input and to serve on scientific advisory boards, et cetera. So give some examples. When I first started doing research in exercise and sport and nutrition in the late 80s, one of the first organized groups that I worked with from industry was the Gatorade Sports Science Institute. And at the time, they brought in experts and did books, a series of books. And they bring folks together. One of the conferences I went to was in Hawaii, so it was an advantage to go. I provided feedback on some chapters that were being looked at for publication in the book. But it brought an opportunity to bring the world's best scientists together and basically pick their brain, get ideas of what current science is, and get ideas for future research that might be done. And so that was an organized effort as a scientific advisory board that advantaged Gatorade Sports Science Institute and has been established for many, many years. So that's one example that companies could do with a scientific advisory board. Next thing, after we first started doing research at the University of Memphis when I was there, got contacted by Anthony Almada and Ed Bird, who were the founders of EAS. And I actually met Anthony at a conference, a nutrition conference I was speaking. He gave me some information, background, what they were going to do at creatine. And that one meeting ended up to have multiple years of funding for a number of studies to look at the initial products that EAS put out with creatine, HMB, CLA, Myoplex, safety. A number of studies were done due to a relationship developed that we were one of their primary sites for doing research on their products. And that helped not only launch their brand, but helped them become a category leader, not only in creatine, but other products, because they were looking to do research to be able to substantiate product claim and development. And then that became a credible source for people to get the latest products out there. Then we did work with Curves. When I went to Baylor University, got contacted with the CEO of Curves. They happened to be near Waco. It's their international group. And this is the largest fitness franchise for women. And they have a training program, and they had a weight management program. So we did a lot of studies. We developed a multi-year agreement with them, 5 years, and then was extended by another 3 years, so 8 years of research funding. But we did about 25 studies during that time, and it provided evidence to substantiate not only their program as a good program to promote health and fitness in women, but also look at different diet interventions, higher protein, lower fat, and different type of interventions with or without different nutrients that could be used to be able to augment or enhance weight loss and management over time. So that was about an $8 million investment from Curves over about a 13-year period or so. Then we did studies with Nutribulk, makers of Cellucor. We started with one study with them and then talked them into a multi-year deal. And this was the study within 5 years. We did about 17 different studies for Nutribulk, everything from their pre-workout supplements to weight loss supplements and others, to try to provide data for them to be able to help with their marketing claims and product substantiation, as well as safety of their products. And we did various things like adding nutrients to their pre-workout supplements, different types and different formulations. And this was very successful for about a 5-year project. We're doing work with Natreon. We're doing one study now, and we have 2 or 3 planned on a multi-year master agreement that we'll be able to do some particular studies with, looking at more health aspects of nutritional supplementation in people who are slightly higher risk due to various chronic diseases. And then we've been doing a lot of work with Kreider on fee-for-service basis, because they're doing different nutrients to look at cognitive function. And they're trying to then develop patents that can then place these particular nutrients in the marketplace for product development from different companies. So that's been very successful. That's 1.5 years, 2 years. Done already 3 studies with them, several others planned, and it was on a fee-for-service basis where we just collect the data, hand the data to them, and then they're able to publish, put it in patents, or even ask us to publish the data afterwards. And finally, I'm working now with Allschem. We had done research on creatine for many, many years. And Allschem came to me about a month or so ago and said, hey, we'd like to develop a scientific advisory board, not to promote the effects of creatine on sport, but really to help increase awareness about the health benefits of creatine. So I'm right now forming a scientific advisory board with them, and we're going to have not only a special issue on creatine in a peer-reviewed journal, but then a large conference, virtual conference next spring. And the hope is then we can gain insight from these experts who are doing different types of medical information or aspects of creatine supplementation for future research directions, as well as increasing awareness. So these are just a few examples of how industry can get involved in academic research, work with individuals. The Allschem work I do as a consultant, for example, or do a fee-for-service like in Kreider, or just do regular grant activities that provide an opportunity for industry to engage in academic research to not only provide insight about what their products can develop into, but also help them navigate through FTC and FDA issues that come along. So I appreciate your opportunity to speak, and I'm looking forward to other talks, but I'll leave you with one last comment. In my experience of 30-some years working with industry, as well as in universities, the companies that invest in research, develop quality products, and use research substantiated structure and function claims to market their products generally cultivate greater consumer confidence, loyalty, and greater market share. And there's also the companies that people rely on when new products come out. They're able to launch them in more of a seamless way. More people are interested in trying them because the credibility they have gained through doing not only individual nutrient investigations, but finished product studies to say this is what would happen if you take that particular product. So with that, I'll be listening for the other talks and be happy to answer any questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much.